What about your confidence leaving the showroom? So, were you comfortable with the
Well,
vehicle and knew how to use all the features? And because there's a lot
absolutely,
to take in.
absolutely not.
No.
The the half hour or hour, I can't even remember how long Lee spent with me showing me the vehicle and what it did and what it didn't do.
Right. Okay.
You know, the trouble is that you can only take in so much information. Oh, excuse me. Let me turn it off. Let me turn it off. You can't take all that information in all in one hit. It's impossible.
Yeah.
It's the same as. I'm sorry. It's the same as if someone asks for instructions to go somewhere. Nobody can remember anything after the third instruction.
Yeah.
There is absolutely no point in giving more than 3 instructions because you won't get it. My biggest concern was, and I think still today, is that they should print an easy start little booklet on all the major features that you are actually going to need that you won't remember. I was ringing up poor Terry 3 or 4 times a day for at least a week. How'd you do this? How'd you do that? I can't do this. Something's come up. Not a clue how to deal with it. The electronic manual is pretty useless in terms of unless you sit there and you go through it. But on the move, it won't let you look at it, so you're kind of stuffed to find anything out.
How has TX changed the way you feel then after a long shift? So let's say you're out on the road for 12 hours. Compare this vehicle to
It's wonderful.
TX4.
I've got no complaints about the vehicle as a vehicle. As I say to people that ask, it's like driving a vehicle with Bose noise cancelling headphones on. It's so quiet, smooth, no issues with that.
No.
And the public love it. And driving it is really very de-stressing, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's stress-free.
Right. Okay.
Particularly you sit at traffic lights all the time or traffic jams, and the cab is just dead.
No noise.
No noise, no vibration, and that takes a lot of the stress out of the job.
Right.
It really does.
Space.
Yeah.
Even in terms of like the equipment we've got, so like parking sensors and reversing camera and all that. All happy with all that.
Wonderful. In fact, because it's a big vehicle and you really can't see the back, I think that reversing camera is an absolute must. Anybody who buys one of the lower ones without it, doing themselves a big disservice.
Yeah.
It should really be a standard, I think.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
From a safety point of view as well, because you can actually, you can see if there's a bollard behind you, a kid walking past or someone, you can actually see them, and it's got a good wide angle as well.
So you use regen all the time?
All the time. In town, regen 2, all the time. Must, yeah. And the thing is that, in fact, just to tell you that I think about 6 weeks after I picked the cab up and I'd gone out shopping with my wife in her car, after 10 minutes I said, "What's wrong with your brakes? They don't work." Because I'm so used to the vehicle in Regen 2 slowing down to 5 miles an hour, which is almost walking pace.
Yeah.
Right? And you're just braking for that 5 miles an hour. It's nothing.
Yeah.
So when you get in any other vehicle, even with power, obviously everybody's got power braking, it feels like going back to the old TX, the old original FX4s.
Yeah, I bet.
Trying to put your foot on the brake.
What is the TX like to live with day to day then? In terms of like
in the storage
or like
terrible
space, luggage compartment.
Luggage compartment is small.
Yeah.
I don't use it really.
No.
I put it all in the back.
Right. Okay.
Try to, because I've got so much of my own rubbish on the front.
That's a good point. Yeah.
So I've actually bought one of the things I think it should have in the front is I bought a TX1 map net.
Yeah.
To put my books and little maps and bits of paper and stuff. So I've had that put on.
Yeah. I mean, Alistair have seen that and spoke about that as well.
So that could be something like that could be added.
So maybe you could just talk us through your usual day then. So you leave home with a full charge.
Yeah.
And then presumably you have one charge in town, or does that last you?
Never bother.
Right. Okay.
Can't be bothered. because a lot of there's very few 50 kilowatt chargers around to get to, so you've got to make an effort to go and find one.
Right.
And you've got to sit there for an hour and wait for it to charge, so I don't bother. And the mileage, even when you're on petrol, is not bad.
Yeah.
So why waste the time? In fact, when I first got the taxi, I was told I live in Potter's Bar, to drive into, say, Swiss Cottage, which is 13 miles, on petrol, and then turn it onto electrics.
Okay.
But one Sunday, we drove to Brent Cross, had lunch there, drove over to Chigwell to see the grandchildren, then I drove home again, which was 52 miles in total, and I still had electricity left in the battery, and I thought, what am I wasting my time for? So now I just leave home on smart. I drive it on smart all the time.
Okay.
And I found I got a much better petrol consumption.
Right.
I didn't use anywhere near as much petrol.
In terms of your earnings then, from using this vehicle, because that kind of ties into running costs, do you think you've got more work from driving TX? Maybe business to business, or passengers flagging you down?
I think initially there were, and even now I think people are stopping us. I've had quite a few people just wanting to have a drive in it.
Yeah.
They don't want to go anywhere, they just want to have a drive in it.
Down the road.
Yeah, the funniest thing I had happen was about 3 weeks after I got it. I pulled onto the Carlton Tower Hotel in Knightsbridge, and I was at the back of the rank, which was about sixth cab, on a Saturday night, about 10 o'clock, and a woman comes running over to me. She said, "Oh, can I hire you?" So I said, there's a rank there, there's 6 cabs in front. No, I don't want those. I want to go in yours. My husband's coming over. And it turns out that the husband, they'd driven along and they'd seen my taxi. He said, "Go and get that taxi." And they drove into the hotel, he paid off the cab he was in, and then came back. The guy was from Azerbaijan, from Baku. Now Baku, they've got 250 taxis that they got for the Eurovision Song Contest in 2012. So he knew all about the taxis, and he wanted to have a ride in it. So
wow.
I went over to the city with him to Sushi Samba, and he loved it. He absolutely loved it.
So he actively went out his way. Just
I commission if Baku order a load of new ones. The passengers absolutely love the taxi. There's nothing. The complaints I have from the passengers, which is what I was going to come on to, but now you mentioned it, is the D handle here needs another one on the back, because there is nothing for the passenger to grab hold of. It's too far away.
Yeah. Any issues with hailing? Because I know the taxi.
I don't have a problem with it. I'd rather people hail me than not.
Okay.
And the guys who put a tinted plastic film or whatever it is over the front of for highlight, after about 3 weeks, I think they get fed up with it, because then people don't hire them and they're hiring the cabs behind. So on the WhatsApp feed, that's the sort of.
In terms of the passengers, have they been using charging and Wi-Fi? Have you noticed, or is that kind of do they know about it? For example,
the Wi-Fi they don't know about unless I tell them. I point out the charges to people, so gradually over time
people should start.
But most people don't carry a cable, so that's the problem.
True.
I'd have to lend them the cable to do it.
Right. Okay.
But I'm showing them, and they're all impressed with the fact that it's available and the 3-pin socket as well.
Right. Okay.
I think they're fabulous features, not to be taken away. I know also, this is something that should be done.
Yeah.
We should have grey blocks up here, not black ones.
Yeah.
I'm mentioning this because it looks like a real Heath Robinson arrangement. This you don't even notice anymore. How wonderful are they?
Yeah.
I think the biggest problem this cab has got is the range.
Right.
I mean, in these last hot days, yesterday, for example, 33 degrees out there, and my range went down to 4, with the air conditioning on all day long. The range went down to 45 miles.
Right. Okay.
You know, if they could get the range up to a realistic 100 miles, most people's problems would be solved.
Okay.
Because what have you got? 400 cabs out now, maybe?
At least 350.
At least 350. So
yeah.
we're getting down towards 400 now. And I'll say the biggest complaint that they all got is charging, and you know, obviously the range is not enough.
Well,
but even so, even with the batteries the way they are and the fuel consumption, I'm still the story about saving £100 a week is true.
Yeah.
I am saving £100 a week at least on fuel.
Right.
And the charging.
Yeah.
So I was spending £160 a week on diesel, and now I'm spending about 40, and the charging is what, £2.50 a day, so maybe £17.50 a week.
Right.
But no, it's nice. I mean, it's great to drive. I mean, it's not as It's certainly not as tiring. You could do more hours in it because you're not stressed out
Right.
the same way. So
Okay.
it's good.